Well, I got really nothing to talk about tonight. Well, it's actually this morning now. Um, Still waiting on parts to show up. I got some coming in tomorrow. And then I got the redneck stem. That one, like, I sent him ample enough amount of extra money to actually send it out in a better form of mailing, but he sent it out in basic form, so it's going to take a week for it to get across country. I won't see that until next week, so that kind of pisses me off. I might see it this week, I don't know, but I doubt it. Like, everybody else that I've ever had to deal with parts always ship them out priority. Because primarily, it's much easier. $7 for most shit will get it across the country in 2 fucking days. And everybody's happy. But, so, where I parked the bike waiting for these parts is literally the entrance of my pad. So every single time I walk in and out of the door, I gotta look at this damn bike that's got tape holding the fucking brake lines in place because I can't use it. All I want to do is just go ride the damn thing. Dang, man. But the parts that I needed were mid-school, and I had to buy them used. And I'll put it this way. So, I grew up in New York, upstate New York. We didn't really have skate parks and stuff until I was basically 20. And because of the X Games thing basically kicking off and everybody like freaking wanted to ride and skate and rollerblade and, just do all sorts of extreme sports. Skate parks started popping up all over the place. Good ones. Not like shitty ones. Good ones. The ones that you actually had to pay like 10, 12 fucking bucks to get into, to actually, go and sign death waivers on. And they were all skate light too. That's going extinct. It seems like to me that basically the only people that are actually buying skate light right now is Woodward. Like, some mountain bike places are buying skate light too, but like primarily like thanks to the dumbass insurance companies and stupid soccer mommies that basically lawyered up after their dumb idiot kids wanted to do that wicked ass transition from, one area to another area, that like people that were way above their level of fucking understanding of how to actually ride were doing, and they were like, well, I can do that too. And then they biffed so hard that they broke a shit ton of bones, and then mommy has to go out and get a goddamn lawyer to sue the freaking skate park for insurance money to cover medical bills because her piss poor ass insurance couldn't cover it. So that's the reason why skate park insurance actually went way up. And that's the reason why a lot of places closed down. Because you're charging people about $10, $15 a head to walk through your doors. And even though they signed a waiver, the waiver doesn't protect them. Apparently. I mean, I've completely read these waivers. They're ironclad. How are these insurance companies like still making it so that people can't run proper private skate parks? It's stupid. Like, it says it in the paper. You are at your own risk of potential bodily harm or death. So little Timmy's mom is basically the reason why basically all of these goddamn skate parks is shut down over the years. It ain't because of the damn freaking buildings cost. It's because of the stupid ass insurance cost. So, long story short, I started doing my skate park stuff and got really heavily into riding and everything. Did a couple like small little private tours and stuff, and went to skate parks around the East Coast area. I never made my way all the way down to Florida, but I made myself down a couple states. Did a little bit of nice riding and stuff. Rode at a couple backyard parks. That's the reason why I have a big thing about not riding backyard parks that aren't fucking skate light. Because some people use the wrong plywood. If you ever have picked a sliver that was like, 4 inches long out of your skin someplace, it sucks. Skate light usually doesn't sliver you. It'll burn your skin. But as long as you're wearing pads and hand protection, it usually doesn't burn you at all. I mean, it'll burn your pads though, especially if they're nylon. But so when I was at that point in my life where I wanted to basically step away from it, because skate parks actually started to actually deal with this insurance shit, and they were starting to slowly shut down on the East Coast, I was like, you know what? All my life I always wanted to head to the West Coast, because that's the holy grail of where it all started, and that's the holy grail of where all the good parks are. I'm on the West Coast now. I am not satisfied. There is no parts out here. There are no bike shit out here. There's good mountains for mountain bike riding, but there is no parks. Unless you have a skateboard. I don't skate. I think it's stupid. No offense to anybody that skates. So now I'm on the West Coast and I need to buy parts. So guess where they're all coming from? Fuck, the East Coast. Where'd they originally come from? Oh, the West Coast. So they got shipped over there, and now the owners of them are shipping them back over here to me. Perfect. And one is not shipping at priority. I got a smoking deal on it, so I can't be like, fuck you, guy. So I'm getting held back on stuff, and it's just, I'd much rather be reporting on bodily injury than being held back by stupid shit. And I'm being held back by stupid shit. I can't ride the mountain bike because it's a DH. And there's really nothing to ride out here that doesn't have snow on it right now. And unbeknownst to a lot of BMXers, the only thing you can actually ride in the wintertime on a mountain is a fat tire. I don't ride those because of the fact that basically, even though a DH bike is for downhill and downhill only, you can't really ride them around town. They're not geared right. I wouldn't buy a fat tire because I don't like riding up mountains, and that's primarily what a fat tire is for. I descending, love it. Ascending, nope. Yeah, that's too much work for me. I'd rather throw it in the back of like a side by side and just have them, take $5 and take me up to the top, get my riding in and go home. That's the reason why basically I get a season pass to lift parks. Takes all the bullshit out of it. So outside of that, bike is still on track. Bike video will probably get postponed. Not because I don't want to do it. Trust me, I want to do a full down tear down to that bike and actually get everything top notch. I mean, everything pretty much is right now, but I want to get it a little bit better. It's rideable right now, but the video will actually make me take it back apart and make sure that all the clean out that I've already done hasn't basically like just pushed stuff into the back casing of the bearings, because it's got those press-in Euro bearings in it. They're not screw-in. I forgot what the hell those are called. So popping those out is going to be a pain in the ass. And because they're the smaller ones, you usually can stick like what do you call those things? Not a punch. It's called something else. Well, I'll just call it a punch. You usually can stick a punch in there and knock the bearing out. But why do I need to do that if I can just clean it out from the outside? You just take the fucking dust cover off, push the fucking grease in there, and push it around, and then spin it a little bit, and then push more grease in there and spin it around. Eventually the grease gets, dirt and dirty, and then basically you wipe that off, and then you repeat the process 3 times, and on the 3rd time, usually after you spin it around, it doesn't get dirty anymore. Bearing is clean. And then just, make sure it's all nice and packed to the surface, and then put your dust cover back on. Obviously, if you do really hard riding, some of the grease is going to, edge its way back out of the bearing through the center of the dust cap, but I've never had that issue. I mean, I ride pretty hard, but the other thing is basically like packing those bearings with the green stuff. It's a lower viscosity than basically bearing grease, so theoretically, having a lot of it in there will actually prevent the bearings clattering on the cage. Which, if the bearing is low on lube, that's the fastest way of actually destroying a bearing, is actually having it clatter on that cage, unbeknownst to a lot of people. Because that's where all the metal flake is going to come from. It's not going to come from the race. Because believe it or not, the race and the inside, I would call it the pinion race, and the balls in the bearing, the bearing balls, they're all hard metal. And they're all pretty much the same density of metal. So they're not going to break down unless you get dirt in there. So the only other thing that's basically going to break down is that cage. The cage is the weakest link in the whole fucking bearing. They would not make the cage out of the same density of metal of the race, the inside race, and the balls. So if you keep it lubed, the race and everything basically has a dampening field on it, so the balls don't clatter on that stupid cage. This works on everything. Same thing with headsets. You don't got a sealed headset. The reason why the reason why your not sealed headset needs to be replaced constantly is because of the fact that basically your bearings, those cups don't have a seal on them internally. So in theory, working it really hard on landings and stuff like that will actually shoot the fucking grease out of the fucking packing of the balls. And you'll have cage clatter again. And again, in that situation, the cups, the races, they're as hard as the balls. The cage is the weakest form again. I mean, if you have an old set of bearings, well, especially headset bearings, because of the fact that basically the majority of people are riding non-sealed headsets, and some of them don't even realize that. Like a sealed headset, they don't usually have normal dust covers. They're usually all like Chris King, and there's a spring that actually is inside there, and you literally have to wind it out, and it's a couple turns, and then that is the dust cover. Because of the fact that the bearing itself is such a tiny, like, inside to outside, surface area, they can't really put a plastic cap cover inside there to actually hold, the grease and everything inside there. So they refer to those spring retainers. But a non-sealed headset, if you take the bearing, the balls in that cage out of, say, a bad one, obviously, you can take a pair of, like, shitty ass needle nose and bend the cage and pop every single ball out of that cage. It's not hard. I mean, the metal, it's not hard. It's not hard to do either. So the grease is your friend. Doesn't have to be bearing grease, but I strongly encourage anybody to go and buy that green stuff from Park Tools. That stuff is wonderful. Like, back in the day, the holy grail of BMX was always simple green or royal purple, or not royal purple, purple power or whatever it was. But you didn't have to dilute simple green. You had to dilute purple power, and you couldn't use it on aluminum, because if you had scratches on the surface of the aluminum, it would actually oxidize the aluminum because it was such an abrasive cleaner. But simple green and the green grease from Park Tools, every BMX guy had ample amounts of that stuff laying around. I used to buy it by the jug. Like, I used to buy both of them by the jug. Well, I wouldn't buy a gallon of fucking green grease. I mean, some little fucking, not the squirt bottle, but the fucking actual tub of it. That stuff comes in handy. It's cheap too. Any bike shop you go to, you can buy a tube of it. It's like $7. And one tube, you can rebuild a bike like almost 19 times with that one tube. Unless you're, fucking constantly pulling your caps off all your bearings like every other couple days. And you go through that tube pretty quick. But primarily, you don't need to use that much of it to actually clean bearings out. So, that being said, I'm probably going to be doing that all the way around the bike one more fucking time for the video. And I'm going to probably try and... I don't know if I'm gonna do it, but I think I want to. I might repaint the fork. I don't know, but I might leave the fork the way it is, because it is actually like a Pro Series dyno fork from back in the day. I don't know what year it was, but with the gusset set it had, it's got to be a 99 or 2000. Because it's using those hat washers. And anybody that's mid-school understands and knows what the hat washer was. The 14 millimeter forks, they came in two forms. One form was that you could either use a 10 millimeter or 3/8 axle inside them, or used slotted 14 millimeter axles. They were the 14 millimeter axles that had a flat side and a flat side, and they'd slide into a most common 3/8 axles. But the hat washers were for frames that did not use an entrance for a 10 millimeter or 3/8. It was a 14 millimeter, opening to put that axle in. And then it would go to the back, and then inside there was a circle at the end of it where the axle rested. You had to use these washers. So if anybody's buying a 990 fork to have front brakes, make goddamn sure you ask for those washers if you notice that there is a round at the end of the shaft. Well, at the end of the cutout for the axle hole, because it's the only thing that's actually going to center the axle. And it actually makes a really good thing because of the fact that, like, I think it was like 2 years in the ride, and I fractured an axle. Yes, I fractured a 14 millimeter fucking axle in the front, and it loosened. It didn't like snap the axle, but it loosened the bolt area because it kind of stretched it out when it fractured. So it was still there. Like, you could unscrew it, and it didn't snap off or anything, but it was fractured. And because it was fractured at its torque area, when it fractured, it kind of like separated a little bit. So even though that bolt was kind of loose on the mounting surface of that hat washer, because the hat washer had a step in it to go inside the fork, I never lost the axle. I didn't even know I freaking fractured it because of the fact that basically it was like a couple days later I blew the tire out, and I had to take it off. And when I took it off, I looked over the axles and everything, and I was like, whoa. And I think it was like 8 days later I had a new axle. That wouldn't happen today. You'd literally be like basically just chucking it because of the fact that you can't rebuild a 14 millimeter front anymore. It wasn't like a hazard hub. It was I don't know if that was like a mongoose hub, because I think it was my only set of 14 millimeters that weren't chrome moly. Because all the other ones that I've ever had were all chrome moly. And the chrome moly ones are nicer because they weighed a little less, and they didn't fucking fracture. So I'm thinking about doing the paint job on the fork. I don't know if I really want to, or if I should just leave the scars that were on it. I already cleaned it up. I mean, it looks nice, but you can definitely, there's gouges all over it. And because it's, it's a chromoly machine fork, it's kind of dark in itself anyway, so the black paint on it kind of covers up the fact that it's all gouged up. And the other thing is it basically matches the white frame because the white frame's all gouged up too. And I ain't talking to metal, I'm talking to paint. So I'm not going to be doing a repaint on the bike. I'm going to keep it all natural and everything, and just it's going to be basically what it is. So the bike buildup is going to be basically me having all the parts already off the bike, minus the bottom bracket, because I don't really want to fuck with that. And I might have it in the video where I'm repacking the bottom. I don't know. I'm going to pull one of the dust covers off before the video starts and see how it looks. If it's still fucking all nice and green and not black, I'm going to fucking just run the video with me just throwing it together. All the brakes are pretty much dialed, so they're already packed, but I'm going to show how to pack a 990, which most people don't know how to do, because I've never seen anybody actually do what I do to a 990. I've ran into problems with 990s in the past where basically they bind up over time, because you're dealing with ferrous metals on non-ferrous metals in ways. Both metals are ferrous, but the thing is basically the steel against the brass bushing, they don't like each other. And for some odd reason, moisture gets in there, the brass bushing it does something weird, and then the whole fucking mechanism tightens up. And I've seen it time and time out where I basically am at a park or out riding with somebody and they got their 990 set, like the set pin cap, like cranked almost like all the way back around. You only technically need to give it a half of a turn. That's all you need to give. If you go any further than a half of a turn, like all you're doing is stressing out the pins that are coming out of that spring. And once you bend those spring tabs, that spring is garbage. You'll never be able to actually set it back in. And if you think you can be able to bend them back straight, they're going to snap. So overforcing the return spring to compensate for fucking shaft tightness because the bushing is dried out, or you have, water oxidation on the metal of either surface and that's causing friction, is a bad idea. So what I normally do, even if they're fucking brand new, because the Diattack that I put on the front, that one, I think it's a Diattack. I can't remember if that's Diattack. No, I think it's a Tektro. But the Tektro that I put on the front was brand new out of the box. And I still instantaneously took that whole thing apart and I greased the shit out of it internally to make sure that I would not ever have the issues that I occurred when I was in my younger days and didn't know about this little technique. So it will be a stupid ass bike video, but the bike video itself will actually show some techniques that even bike shops don't talk about because it's extra maintenance that they don't really care about. But because of the fact that this bike is going to have some rare commodities on it, I need to prevent anything from happening to them later on down the road because replacements of them are becoming very rare. I don't know if it's because of the market and how the market is actually not allowing us buy parts right now, unless you find yourself over in a European bike parts market, because apparently that's the only way that they're doing business over there right now, because all the bike shops are all closed. However, you can still run your businesses with no customers coming in your doors. So theoretically, you could actually still ship shit out of Europe. So if you're having a problem finding bike parts, cough Tech 77s, they got them over in Europe. And they're actually pretty cheap. Like guys selling NOS Tech 77s in the States right now are selling them at around, I want to say give or take, $35 to $50 a side. And the right's a little bit cheaper than the left because the left is a lot more rarer now because the market doesn't require them anymore because everybody wants to just only run rear brake. Baffles us old guys. So over there, yeah, it's like it's damn near pennies on a dollar. Like they're asking like 11 pounds per lever. 11 pounds. Like I saw that today. I was just like, man, if I had the money extra right now to actually do some European buy-in, I'd be buying parts over there. Now, this is at the source. Fuck, I just gave up the goddamn information. So now you guys are going to go out and buy all those goddamn Tech 77s. So, they're non-button too, by the way. They're like kind of like the Tech 99s, but the Tech 77s actually like, they're like I think they came out right before the Tech 99s. But they're the non-button. They don't have the lock on them. Those are actually becoming very, very, very rare. So if you're, rebuilding like a bike from the 90s, and you need those button stop Tech 77s to go with your stupid ass Skyway plastic wheels, yeah, they're fucking stupid rare. Like a good NOS set of those is you're going to spend about $200 a set on levers. Used, scarred up a little bit, oxidation on the button, you probably get them for like $30 a pop. But then again, they're probably not going to come in the color you want. because remember, 90s like was all about color coordination. You know, if you had a neon fucking pink bike, you had to have neon fucking this and that. Man, them colors were hit back then. Yeah. But anyways, so it's it it looks good over there. And there's other places than the source to buy parts through. So if you're having problems buying parts and you don't mind a couple week delay on getting them, but getting the parts that you actually want and not having to go to Dan's Comp and go, fuck, they list it, but they don't got it. Don't even say it's back ordered. Damn it. Yeah, just go and check the European market. Easiest way you can do it. It was basically like, I forgot what the search parameters of it is, but, the easiest way you can do it is just take your fucking Google map or Apple map and send it over to Europe and just go to over on top of the UK and then just type in bike parts or bike stores. And they'll give you a shit ton of listings of bike stores, and all you have to do is go to their websites, and I guarantee you they got parts, because they hoard parts over there. They have a shit ton of parts over there. Compared to our locations in the United States right now, Europe's got all the parts for some dumb reason. And it kind of makes me jealous. But it kind of makes me happy that I actually found this out. Stay away from buying from Australia, because Australia to ship in the United States, like, you're going to deal with a lot of cash. I mean, we're talking more money in shipping than the parts that you're fucking shipping out. Like, whole bike sales from Australia right now to the United States, average shipping cost on that is about $200. No fucking joke. So I'm suspecting that basically like a 10-pound small parcel box of random ass parts is probably going to run you $50. So you better have like at least like $300-400 worth of fucking parts in that little 10-pound box. Because other than that, it's not, you know, a marketable idea to actually fucking deal with Australia. Australia does have a shit ton of parts, by the way. Their used market is crazy too. Other than that, I think Japan is probably going to be the third best. But again, you're going to be dealing with shipping costs on that. But the shipping costs from Japan are a little bit less. Avoid China at all costs, because it'll look like what you want, but then you get it and then you're like, realize it's pot metal and you're like, what the fuck is this shit? But yeah. Or go deal with the used market. There's a lot of used market right now in the United States. You're going to deal with scarred up shit. But who cares? You're putting on a bike you're about to scar up anyways. It's like, you know, fucking... You're buying parts for a demolition car. Do they need to be new? And sometimes, like, basically with modern parts, it's actually cheaper to buy them used. That's what I would do. The only drawback to buying used is color coordination. You know, it's, as long as the parts are black and you're doing a black theme, that's fine. The majority of parts that you're going to find are going to be black. They're a lot rarer to actually find them in colors. And color coordination, other than bronze, aka red gold, bronze is actually a color coming back. You can find a lot of bronze parts. And believe it or not, United States market for brand new parts, you can buy a lot of bronze as well. Bronze rims, a little bit tougher to actually come by, thanks to a couple fucking vloggers. But those rims are out there. If you're building 48s, you ain't gonna get them. 48s, you're basically going to get like black or silver rims, aka raw aluminum. Like there's no market on 48s unless you're going to be buying already built wheels used and then basically taking the rims off of the hubs. But majority of the time when you're buying a used 48, I mean, there's a market out there for them, and you can find some really nice ass builds. So you won't even be sacrificing it. You'll get it in. You're like, oh my god, it's got a fucking good hub set on this shit. I'll fuck these hubs that I got fucking for this whole project. But yeah, like that's what I've been dealing with for the last couple weeks building this bike. I have, like, before I started the videos and everything, of the updates and everything, I've been into this for about 2 weeks prior to that. So in theory, by the time I get done, it's going to probably be about a month and change by the time this bike is actually fit to actually ride and do what I want to do with it. And then I can start practicing again. Because with rear brake, if you grew up on only rear brake or no brake and just running a coaster, hats off to you. I grew up with full brake and freewheels. Not to say I'm running a freewheel. I actually do appreciate the cassettes. They were out of my price range back when I was a kid, and I always wanted one. Back when the only thing you could actually get on them was like the DK that I got as it came stock with a 16, and then you could put a 13 on there, and it literally is a mountain bike hub. I mean, it's like I can guarantee you, if I take that thing apart, that hub that's in that DK is the same hub that is in my bottle rocket for the rear wheel for that one. I mean, Shimano has been using that engagement for years. We're talking probably like 20 plus years, which makes sense because, I mean, it's found in BMX stuff for old school cassettes. Modern cassettes, they don't have that Shimano build with spacers in it. Like the modern cassettes, like, it's literally something to catch one gear with no adapters on it, or centering rings to actually center it to where it needs to be on the shaft. It's literally like you put the gear on and you tighten it down. That's it. That's all you got. Like back in the day, they had spacers in there because of the fact that it was set up for a 10-speed fucking mountain bike ring or road ring. So originally that cassette was actually designed for road bikes, and Shimano quickly put it on mountain bikes because of the fact that they realized it was such a great build. So having it being on a BMX 20-inch, and it was actually designed for a 26, or I think it's with road bikes like 710, or I don't know, like fucking the big wheels. If it can handle that, it can definitely handle a 20-inch, and it's overkill for a 20-inch. Even though the drawback to it is it can only go down to a 13, maybe a 12. Maybe a 12. It looks like it'll take a 12. I got a 12 upstairs for my mountain bike from a previous COG set, and I can easily throw it on there to test. But I think basically the 13 is what I'm going to stick with if I want to use the 48s. That being said, that's where I'm at. I know this has been basically talking for about 40 minutes about bullshit, but welcome to my life, and welcome to the people that have to be in my life. This is what they have to deal with constantly. I'm a talker. That's what I do. I don't do it for a living, but I mean, I do it while I'm doing a living, Not the most productive individual. But that being said, it's about 40 minutes in. I gotta fucking hang up this phone call to you guys. I'll talk to you later.